Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Upload, Season 3, Episode 6. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, we're picking up with Nora's storyline, so it ended up kind of being what I thought, but not quite what I was expecting. Because I thought, like, oh, it's not really Alicia, it's someone playing her. They put her in a VR set where it's like, oh, she's at a place that's like Lakeview. It's meant to look like Lakeview, but it's not actual Lakeview. It's a fake reality to kind of question her. And it turned out kind of being the case, but it's not even in virtual reality. She's in the real world, and it is Alicia. And the moment you hear Karina talk to her, I'm like, it confirms what I thought. Because there's no way Karina could be as high level as she is and not be involved with like the brain trust of evil. You know, as I referred to him last episode. There's no way she couldn't be part of that cabal. So it turns out she is, and she's trying to question Nora about like why she show up at Dr. Kapoor's place. Like she's been hanging around Nathan Brown. I think the guy, there was a dead guy, and I was like, they mentioned someone's name, and it took me it wasn't until this recording, they said someone's name, they said Mateo. I'm like, who is that? I feel so bad. Mateo just died at the beginning of the season. How did I forget? I was like, oh, right, that Mateo. Because I'm fairly certain she said Mateo, right? Or did she say another name? I think she said Mateo. I was like, man, I feel so douchey not remembering Mateo's name. That's actually kind of sad. But it makes sense. He's a Lud that died, and it's like, right, there's some connection between you. So Karina's trying to figure it out, and she's trying to like, you know, Alicia's like, isn't this kind of like wrong what we're doing? But it's like, yeah, as you know, and I also love that person that's there. It's kind of like, oh, you two are a thing, not my business, but you probably want to see HR about that. It's like, yeah, that can turn into a complicated issue when you're dating your boss. One of your bosses, your boss's boss, in fact. But either way, Alicia was kind of hesitant to kind of like question Nora, but it's like, right, if I don't do it, someone else is. And it's like, don't drug her anymore. We didn't drug her. The moment Alicia leaves, all right, drug her again. Luckily, Alicia covered for Nora and was like, don't talk about Nathan being re-downloaded, or even the fact is that, not re-downloaded, that being downloaded. Don't even bring up the fact that you were in a relationship, you'll get in real trouble. So it all worked out in the end, because Alicia doesn't know about the evil cabal, because they've kept her isolated from a lot of that. They brought it up last season about Choke and things not being up and up, but she's kind of in the dark about a lot of stuff. Hell, I even love that when the Choke situation comes back up, Agent Cheeto and everything, that this is the first time Viv's hearing about it. She's like, whoa, Choke is the person that had you here? I was like, oh wow, your mom is super out of the loop about all this. To be fair, it's like, why would you tell your mom about all this stuff? You put her more in danger, right? But either way, luckily, Alicia's out of the loop, and for her, she was just protecting Nora because she knew she could get in a lot of trouble being a Horizon employee and dating like one of the clients and stuff like that, but not knowing the larger conversation of most likely Nora would have gotten popped if they had found out she knew anything. So it worked out to her favor being drunk, well, high, but also Alicia telling her not to say anything, so it worked out. And now they're not going to look at Nora anymore because they're like, oh, it was just a coincidence she was there, she just came to use the bathroom. So luckily, like I said, she had enough of her faculties, and she had like Alicia there backing her up, so luckily that worked out in the end. It also screws things up for Karina because she saw Nora, because Nora saw her, rather, that complicates things. But because later on, when they're looking through Choke's memory, which we'll get to later, she saw Karina, and she's like, I don't know why, but I feel like because they erased her memory, but as we know, it's there somewhere. So just like Nathan got his memory back, and I'm sure Nora will too. But she's like, I look at Karina and I get this bad feeling. It probably won't be, well, because she doesn't remember enough. But it also plays into what I was talking about, where I'm like, I feel bad for Alicia, because eventually Alicia is going to find out like the evil person she's in bed with, and it's like she actually really likes her. And this is like her first, I mean, within the context of the show, I mean, we don't know when the last time Alicia had a relationship. At least I don't think that's ever come up in the show. Once again, it's always been a her and Luke thing, but nothing official. So this is like her first significant other in the show that I can remember off the top of my head. So it's kind of like probably the first person who also wants more for you, is trying to help you work your way up. But yeah, that's going to suck when it comes out about her being kind of an evil person. And she's even juggling with that. Like, she ends up talking. She, doesn't go too deep into it, but she tries to talk to Luke about it because she doesn't really have anyone else she could talk to about it. It's going to be a little awkward going to Nora about your significant other because you don't want to trigger the potential memories of like, because I also like her and Nora haven't been in the best place, so they haven't been sharing a lot of stuff. So you're not, but who do you confide into? The only other person you interact with a lot is Luke, because you definitely can't talk to Lucy about it. But it's like, oh, when you're dating someone, you see kind of like the sweet side of them, but then the evil corporate side of them. It's like, yeah, humans are complex. There's dualities to everyone, but it's still kind of, it can overshadow and take your view of them when it's like, oh, I see kind of just the evil side of you now, and it's kind of a rude awakening. So that's definitely going to be an interesting element for Alicia to kind of come to terms with. I don't think that relationship's going to last by the end of the season, but Alicia's going to find out the truth about everything that's going on. So, but eventually, Nora, obviously, because she was like drugged and like they erased her memory, she was just like, oh man, she remembered what happened like up until she was kidnapped, but not afterwards. And so she talks to Nathan about Kapoor and everything, and then he tells her about Ivan leaving Choke's drive. So it's like, okay, so other Nathan, backup Nathan and Nora are going to work together Lakeview sidewise to go through Choke's memories while Nathan goes to actual San Francisco, I think, and like downloads him and stuff to check him out, and they end up sifting through his memories, which I love that they brought it up last episode, but we're diving into it even more. The complicated element of, backup Nathan being like, oh, so you're with the real Nathan, like, how's that going? And where you stay? Oh, you're staying at Holden. So he took you to his ex's place, which is like, I love there are certain moments where he's like, we, because we're the same person. And then other times he's like, oh, he did this, kind of being like, whenever OG Nathan screws up, then it's kind of like backup Nathan's like, yo, this is my time to shine. Like, oh, look how he screwed up. And even Nora's feeling guilty about it. It's like, oh, I think backup Nathan flirted with me and I flirted back, and Holden's like, that's not too bad. I mean, it's the same person. It's just your boyfriend 6 months ago. It's, and I love that interesting conundrum. It's, what is the thing that always comes up? The ship, I'm going to butcher it. It's like the ship of Theseus or something like that. Like I said, I'm always going to get it wrong. It's one of those, I don't know if that's like Greek mythology maybe, or Greek philosophy. It's just, right, are you you are the sum of your parts, and depending on how, like, if one piece of you gets replaced, like, oh, say you lose a finger and that finger gets replaced, does that make you any less you? What happens when every bit of your body gets replaced except for that one finger? Does that mean that you're the same person anymore? Are you still the same ship, or you a completely different ship? I'm butchering the metaphor, but you've probably heard it once or twice before. It's the whole conversation that comes up in WandaVision about the different spoilers, the different visions. So it ends up being that similar conundrum, because we are the same person, except, backup Nathan's just a little, slightly more ripped than OG Nathan. But it's like, I have 6 months worth more of memories and experiences than you, but we are essentially the same person. We have the same sentimentalities and thought process and same personality, because it's not like, oh, one's a good person, one's a bad person. No, this is a Nathan, once again, who's also going through so much growth. So it's not like this is, oh, it'd be a different story. We're talking, this downloaded Nathan versus Nathan who just got uploaded. That'd be night and day, Nathan, but not these two. They're 6 months apart, but still that 6 month wasn't experience of life-wise. Yes, there's a big difference, but just who they are personally didn't change much at all. So, but I think it's a really interesting conundrum that Nora finds herself kind of attracted to Nathan. Because I even love him being like, oh, so did you have a threesome with Holden? And she's like, come on, focus. And he's like, that wasn't a no. I mean, Nora made it pretty clear, like, she's fantasizing a little bit about some double Nathan action, potentially. So, probably more likely to swing that than maybe with Holden, but who knows? And then Nathan's got to deal with a drunk Ingrid, because she had obviously she was feeling down, well, her and Nathan had a blow up about, like, okay, like, I lied to you, so what? I mean, the fact of the matter is, not telling each other everything is how we keep this spark or whatever. And she's like, oh, I could re-download you again, just to like copy you again so you can see how crazy you are. He's like, don't copy me anymore. And he's like, and she's like they're kind of at each other's throats. But it's like, yeah, don't go back to, what was it, Norbula or something like that. It's Nora. Like, are you even trying anymore? Northern Nora. And it's like, and I love that we find out she only gets Nora's name right when she's drunk. I love that. But she had a heart-to-heart with the AI guy. And he's like, no, you'll find someone who kind of loves you. And she's just like, give it to me straight. He's like, all right, your issues is, your mistrust of, it's something of your own creation. Your mistrust of Nathan comes from your mistrust of your own self-worth. You have to tell him what's really on your mind. Always, you have to be honest, and damn be the consequences. She's always been reluctant to tell him everything because she saw how telling the truth didn't work out. But did it work out this time? But then it's like, yeah, but you still held on to certain information that probably, that's your mistake. You kind of waited to the last moment to tell him the truth before, and the same thing happens this time. I'm like, yeah, you told him some stuff up front, but then like hid other stuff. So you're kind of back to square one. So I thought she was going to get like go see Lakeview Nathan, considering like he's there, backup Nathan because he's already there. But no, she ended up going and tracking down downloaded Nathan because she ended up going to Viv, and they end up actually having this beautiful like heart to heart because she's drunk and just talking about what's wrong with me. I love that it's like, even though she's saying all this, it's kind of like she's like shaking her butt and just kind of being like, notice me, Nathan. Because for her, it's like, no matter what Nathan it is, it's still Nathan all across the board. And that ends up being this interesting thing where it's like, potentially each Nathan's had a heart-to-heart with their complicated love situation. So OG Nathan is talking to Ingrid about Nora and backup Nathan, and they're both talking about Ingrid and OG Nathan, and just like, oh, it's kind of weird them being around each other. Like, can Nathan really trust himself around Nora? He knows how he feels about Nora. He knows how he felt about Nora 6 months ago. And also insecurities about, well, he is like the barely slightly more hotter version of me. So, and especially because it is that complicated thing of, now that we're in a relationship, we're out and about, it is this thing of, hey, like any relationships, once you're around someone, like you can be in a long distance relationship and everything's honky-dory, you're around each other, it's a little different because now you start picking up on all of your issues, like the problems with them. But that ends up being something Nora's like, yes, there's things I hate, but I love those things even though I hate them, because that's any part of a relationship, accepting someone for the things you like about them and the things you hate about them. Like liking everything about someone doesn't, make a perfect relationship or anything like that. But, and it's just, Ingrid in herself, it's like, I think that's why both of them kind of end up getting paired up story-wise, because both of them kind of are very low on their self-esteem. That was something Nora's kind of bring up, like, oh yeah, Nathan has been feeling less self-confident ever since. I think it's just, he's always been worried about not being good enough. For him, it's hard living, which even Ingrid's learning that. That's why she's spending most of her time in a hug suit, despite it being disgusting. She also doesn't like working at that place. So it's like, there's just so much commonality and crossroads between the characters. And, even Nora defends Ingrid. It's like, yeah, she might have lied to you, but Ingrid's so dedicated to you. Like, at the end of the day, you can't, like, you are the one constant in her life. You're the only. Once again, she latches onto you so much because you're all she has. She doesn't really have any of her friends. She doesn't have her family, but she has you, and she loves you wholeheartedly. Yes, she doesn't go about it the best way all the time, but like, even Nora can recognize how crazy Ingrid is for Nathan, And she even told OG Nathan, it's like, you could be penniless and have diarrhea every day, and I would still want to be with you, Nathan Brown. And it's like, it's actually really, really sweet. And then the funny thing is, they each did help each other's relationship. Like, it makes backup Nathan go like, maybe I should be with Ingrid. Maybe Ingrid is the one, because she is crazy, loyal, passionate weirdo. So I think my future is with Ingrid. Possibly. Maybe. I think, But it also helped, reconfirmed a lot between OG Nathan and Nora, because for her it's like, oh, I I love Nathan. He's the one I imprinted on because he's the one I love, not you. And, you know, backup Nathan's like, no, I get it. I understand. I even love drunk Ingrid being like, okay, and hugs him and then like squeezes his butt. He's like, okay, you had to ruin it. She's like, well, since I already ruined it and they're probably doing something, like, why don't we just, you know, kind of go further? She's like, you want to whip your penis out? He's like, no. And she's like, come on, as friends? And he's like, no. And she's like, haha, you passed the test. I was just testing you. As enemies or whatever. He was like, no, Ingrid. And she's like, ha, you passed the test again. I was testing you again. It's like, I love it. Poor Ingrid. But it's like, yeah, because she was like, oh, will someone ever marry me and stuff like that. It's like, I don't know if things going to work out between her and backup Nathan, if like she's going to find someone else. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out because, like, I mean, once again, we don't know what OG's Nathan future is going to be because he could head explode at any point in time. Like, once again, I get the feeling like it's going to happen at the end of the season, but we'll see. But like I said, we have that relationship stuff. We also have Luke. You know, he's so upset because he's torn between the two Nathans, you know, and I love that he's talking to backup Nathan, who's like, oh, like, how do I feel about Nora? He's like, my normal advice would be, like, follow your heart, but honestly, he's like, now that I've said it, it's perfect advice because you are Nathan goddamn big badass Brown. And he's getting super hyped up. He's like, oh, it's like adrenaline. It feels so good. He's like, what, to say my name? And he's like, yeah. But later on, he's in so much pain about it, you know, feeling nervous and kind of torn between all of this. And it's just a little overwhelming. And he actually has this really sweet moment with Alicia because Alicia got given all these flowers by Corinna, like, before she left. And you can tell she was walking away because she's upset, but she's also torn because she likes her. But who does she go to rely on and talk to? She ends up going to Luke, the only person she could really talk to. And they actually had this really sweet talk because it's like, he made some reference about his mom. She's like, oh, would like to know your mom. It's like, oh, my mom taught people. It's like, oh, a high school teacher? No, in prison. She was a correction officer. But that was actually like really sweet to kind of like learn about her. And I think it's Alicia, little by little, over like last season and this season, she's come to like see Luke in a different way. And I think maybe she'll kind of see like Luke, idiot self and all, is just himself. Whereas Corinna, you're kind of starting to see two sides of her. You kind of gotten to see all sides of Luke. Once again, the only thing pulling you back from going that far is like, well, I've seen how the Nora and Nathan thing happened, but maybe that'll inspire you to be taking a leap of faith when it comes to this whole stuff. So, but that's all the relationship stuff. Obviously, the core crux of this episode, we found out that what Choke's real plan is. Obviously, the whole thing was about voting power. That basically they were trying to get rid of a certain percentage of the population with the whole Freon situation. Because once they die, that will leave the voters in the nation most likely being... Because anyone that will more likely fall on their side won't be someone that takes upon Freon. It's like once you're able to kind of get rid of that population of people, you're able to swing the vote you need your way. And so it turns out what they're looking for is trying to get this particular bill passed that will make it so that uploads can work. But like, why is that a bad thing? Their ultimate plan is it will save them on a workforce. That it's like, if you can get rid, like Choke in particular, and I'm sure the Cabal of Evil is basically like that, of if you can remove part of your workforce and exchange them for uploads, it's cheaper. Because even he's like, oh, it will save us like $500 million a year. So that's a lot of money. It's all about bottom lines and making sure you're able to keep your money and have money and keep it. That's what it's all about. The 1% making sure they're able to keep their status as the 1%. So that's the true evil business nefariousness of what this has been all about. And Ingrid heard a really disgusting thing when she learned from her dad that like he was joking with Choke, like, oh, it was a good thing Nathan Brown died in that car accident, but it would have been better if that spoiled money spending daughter of mine, because that's how he would have kept his money. And it's just like, wow. She's like, I knew my dad was evil, but to hear him say that, like, you know. And for her, it's just like, I just want someone to tell me they're proud of me for once. Because and that was also the thing for even Nathan. It's like, at the end of the day, backup Nathan in particular says it, that Despite, once again, her being the crazy person that she is loyal, she is passionate, and yes, she is a weirdo, but she is also trying. And the fact of the matter is, you gotta admire. 2 steps back, but she still tries regardless. And I think that is admirable. Admirable. So, a lot of very, very, very interesting developments. I'm excited to see where the next episodes take us with all of this. I could be mistaken, but I believe this season's only 8 episodes, so I believe the next 2 episodes are the last episodes of the season, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm excited to see how this ultimately all ends up playing out and ultimately comes to an end. I'll have to wait and see. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.